Alright, so a backstory real quick is my brakes became real spongy and the brake light came on. I couldn't find any leaks until finally I saw it coming out of this little valve right here. Every time you push the brakes, that little centerpiece goes up and down, so this part basically moves all the time. Anyway, it took me a little while to figure out that this was the cause. I went ahead and changed the seal, refilled the reservoir, and then I tried to bleed the brakes. Of course, you end up snapping off the bleeder valves and trying to drill them out and all that kind of stuff. I was unsuccessful. So I went ahead and changed the brake calipers, and ever since then, every time I push the brakes, my truck pulls to the left. So the next thing to do is change the brake lines. So that's pretty much what we're gonna do today. Charger. Alright, so if you have a vehicle and you push on the brakes and it pulls to one side, if it pulls to the left, you're usually going to have a problem on the right side, like I do, and vice versa. If you have one that pulls to the right, it's probably going to be a problem on the left side. Last weekend I came through to bleed the front brakes and I ended up breaking both bleeder valves off. I tried drilling them out and using easy out and they would not come out. So I ended up having to buy two brand new or remanufactured calipers. Now my problem is, after I bled the living crap out of it, whenever I push on the brakes, it pulls to the left. If that happens and you haven't done any brake work or anything like that, you either have a sticky caliper air in the line, or you're gonna have a brake line. This rubber line right here is usually bad or clogged. Something's wrong with this line. Usually what happens is the little metal bracket piece right here will get corrosion underneath it and it will tighten down on the line and basically squeezing it off, pinch it off. Ha! Just kidding. It'll basically close off the brake line so you don't get very much flow through the brake line. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be my problem because, one, I've already replaced the caliper. Two, I bled the living crap out of it, like a whole bottle's worth, thinking that I still had air in it. So the only thing left is this brake line. So that's what I'm going to do today, is replace both brake lines, because typically with brakes and suspension and all that kind of stuff, if you replace one on the right side, you should also replace it on the left side. And another thing that you can do to kind of check for this line being clogged is you can open up this bleeder valve, and if brake fluid does not freely flow from it, then that is an indication of a clogged line. So we're going to test that theory right now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some out of it, but it's just not going to be as much as you normally would. So we'll put it to the test real quick, and I'll zoom in on that. And here we go. We'll give that, oh, wrong size. Okay, now that I got the correct size 10mm, we'll give that a try. Okay, well oh, there is some air in there. Holy shit. Well, we're gonna do a quick bleed real quick. I'm just gonna get a screwdriver, and you can't see it. Alright, so what I'm gonna do real quick to bleed this, I mean, technically, yeah, you can just open it up and, can you see that? A couple bubbles out of there? Oh, now I got some free flow. So what we're gonna do real quick is stick a screwdriver in between here, which is gonna compress the piston this way, and it'll force out some more brake fluid out of there. So maybe we can get a few more bubbles out of there. And I'm not exactly sure where these bubbles came from, but we're gonna try that first. And here we go. Screwdriver in between here and the piston. And I'm probably gonna get this all over myself, but that's okay. I'm putting a little pressure on the piston. And there we go. Close it before you release the pressure off the piston. So when you're bleeding brakes, you want to make sure there's still pressure on the system while you close that. Otherwise, if the pressure is not off, you have a chance of getting air back into the system. And I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to push pressure on the piston, and then I'm going to release this. See how we get fluid flow? And then shut it off. Now release the pressure. I wonder if that was it. Maybe we'll do the other side real quick just to make sure that one's good to go. I didn't have any problems until I started changing stuff, but that's typically how it goes, right? Watch out. Whoa, I think I spilt it. Alright, we're gonna do this one real quick. Here, we'll even do the open it up real quick to see if there's flow. And there is some flow, and look at that, there's a couple bubbles. Where is this air coming from? Apparently I didn't bleed it good enough. A whole bottle wasn't good enough. All right, I'm gonna apply some pressure to the piston. Open it up. Flow, shut it off. And then release off the pressure of the piston. Don't listen to me about all the other tips. Just bleed it again. We'll check the reservoir, see how much we got in there. Wipey, wipey. A little shaky, shaky. You can see it right about there. Level's good. I'm not even gonna add any. I hope that was the problem. Because if I don't have to replace anything, I'm not going to. So I'm gonna throw the wheels back on it and go drive it. Where's my gun? Found it, right where I left it. Oh. Damn you. There we go. Get there. Street use. Back up again, make sure there's nobody behind me. And then drive and go. I guess it does pull a little bit to the left, and I can check it one more time. How about that? It was still slightly pulling to the left, so I'm gonna go ahead and change the line. I mean, I already bought it. All right, so right back here is an 11 millimeter. That one I think is a 13. And the other side of the brake line up here, if I remember right, is like a 5/8 and a 15 millimeter. So I did go ahead and spray these down with penetrating oil just in case they are a little sticky. So first we're gonna pull this bolt out, try to see if those will come undone, and then go for the last bolt right back there, and then swap it out. That one was easy enough, but I have had this one off before because I've changed out the rotors and the hubs on this side. And there's also a clip right here which kind of holds all this onto this little bracket here, so that'll come off here in just a minute. I just want to make sure these will come loose. So the back side on mine is 5/8, and the nut, I do have line wrenches, but most people don't, so I'm not going to use a line wrench. This is a 15 millimeter on my side. Oh, yep, and it's coming loose. You loosened up, there we go. And this line does have brand new copper washers on it, but the new line also came with brand new copper washers, so I might as well just change those out as well. There's a copper washer on both sides, one on the side of the banjo and the other side of the brake line. So we're gonna replace those, of course, but you are gonna have to keep your banjo bolt. Let those go there. There we go. All right, line is off. New line. And there is a little notch. These go in a specific way. You just turn it until it fits in the hole. There we go. You do this side first, that way it's gonna gravity feed down through the line to get, well, not all the air out, but a good portion of it. A little snuggy poo. Find the clip that fell down and disappeared, and put her back in. A little tap-taparoo. Go around here. Set you in your spot. I'm just gonna set the bolt back in there and not tighten it down quite yet. The two little washers. Now these do have a rounded edge and a sharper edge. I typically put the sharper edge on the banjo. So rounded edge goes to the head side of the bolt, right in here. Sharp edge goes towards the banjo. insert. And this stuff's pretty slippery too, so. There you go, calibrated elbow. So another tip for bleeding your brakes is you always want to bleed the longest line first. So since this is the passenger side, you want to bleed this side first and then do the shorter line, which would be the driver's side. We're gonna go ahead and change out the line real quick and then we'll do the bleeding. Alright, now that we got that done, we want to check the fluid level again because we do not want this to go empty while we are bleeding the brakes. Right now we do have plenty in there. So we're going to bleed the brakes real quick and we're going to come back to this and make sure it's full, because if you go too far and you let air back in the system, you're going to have to bleed it all over again. Trust me, I did it last time. So I'm going to go grab the wife real quick. She's going to push down on the brake pedals and I'm going to open up the bleeders. And we're going to get out as much air as physically possible if we can. So leave that on. All right, go ahead, push it down. All right, go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Go ahead. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Slam on the brakes here. Ready? Still doing it. Here we go again. I mean, that's far. Real far. Alright, well, normally changing the brake lines, that would solve the problem. But I've changed everything and I didn't have any problems with my brakes other than that little seal that I talked about earlier, leaking, which drained all the fluid, etc. Before that, I didn't have any pull to the left or pull to the right or anything weird happening whenever I pushed the brakes. Now that I've replaced everything, I'm having the problem. So I'm kind of thinking that there is something wrong with one of the calipers, or ooh, might be a part 2 to this.